Welcome to Guys and Bets on this 27th day of December. I hope you all had or are still having a wonderful holiday season. Andrew Avery here with a special guest, Joe Osborne, sitting in for Johnny OddsShark.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for sitting in.
Thanks for having me.
How was the holidays?
I overdid it. Physically, I'm not doing too well right now.
Really?
Yeah, I ate way too much food.
Yeah.
Drank too much beer.
Yeah.
There is such thing as too much beer. I found out none of the Coors Light stuff. I'm talking heavy IPAs.
Yeah. Yep.
A few stouts mixed in.
Yeah.
Got into a little bit of rum on Christmas Eve.
Did you?
Yes.
To get into a fist fight?
No fist fights, but given the setting with family and stuff, you know, you went from feeling good to being flat out drunk.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't feeling too good
I
Christmas
know.
morning.
I was there on Christmas night myself. Too much booze, some board games, some fun.
An abundance of chips.
Yep.
Pastries.
Oh, all that stuff. Baked goods.
The elastic band on my jogging pants broke right off. It was embarrassing. Very humiliating experience.
Very humiliating holidays for Joe Osborne. But we've got our work cut out for us today. We are going to take a look at 3 Week 17 NFL games. Joe is going to break down UFC 232, the co-mains.
Yes.
And you're also going to cap and make picks from some of the games on tonight's NBA board
Yes, there's 3 bets I really like tonight.
And before we get into all that, our very own Scott Hastings has been on fire during bowl season. He's 12-4 with his bowl picks entering today's games. And I would be remiss if I didn't pass along the fact that he's on Vanderbilt tonight against Baylor. Vandy currently -4. And if you're not already, follow Scott on Twitter at ScottyH_OS for more bowl picks. Don't miss out. You need to strike while the iron is hot. And Joe, speaking of hot,
yes,
you are resurrecting a staple. And if you're familiar with Joe on Twitter, at JTFOZ, you're very familiar with the Greasy Moneyline Parlay.
it's back from the dead.
The Greasy Moneyline Parlay is back, and if you're familiar with Joe on Twitter, you know that it's a celebration because there's always a large gathering of folks outside
Look at that
the
crowd.
OddsShark headquarters, and there you see it. That's a live shot from one of the security cameras in the parking lot. It looks very festive.
There's some heavy drinking going on out
Yep.
there. Holy cow.
Heavy drinking, lots of IPAs. Very festive, though, and it is a cause for celebration, Joe.
Sure.
So I understand you've got a 5-legger.
Yes, I'm pumped.
Let's have it.
All
Where
right.
are you starting?
Let's get right into it. So, okay, first of all, these are 4 and 3 so far, plus 2.24 units.
Solid.
Since I've been doing them. So we're going to start off with Alabama -590, of course, in the semifinal game playing against Oklahoma. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on each of these. Alabama, the defense is just so much better than Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma will be able to stop Bama on the ground, so that will be the difference there. So for the NFL, we have the Patriots at -775. They're
Patriots.
hosting the Jets.
Okay.
We have the Seahawks, who are hosting the Cardinals. You can get that one at -775 as well.
Yeah.
We have the Chiefs at -775. They're hosting the Raiders. And then we have the Rams -470. They're hosting the 49ers. And this, it all works out to +104. So quick note on these NFL ones. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time breaking down these money lines. They're all double-digit favorites. They're all playing at home, and they all have something on the line regarding playoff positioning.
Yep.
Interesting stat here, or trend perhaps. Double-digit favorites are 26-1 straight up in Week 17 since 2009.
Okay, good stuff.
So I like it.
No footy.
No.
And no hoops on the Greasy Parlay. Let's bring that up full screen just in case folks are joining us. Leg 1, we got Bama, Patriots, Seahawks, Chiefs, and the Los Angeles Rams, +104.
No hoops.
No hoops, no soccer.
We got burned on hoops.
Yeah.
Before. That's where the 3 and the 4 and 3 comes from.
Really?
Well, a couple of hoops games, and when the Packers lost at home to the Cardinals and Mike McCarthy got fired.
Was one of the hoops ones, that was Cavs over Sixers, right?
No, it was same night as that. I almost went with that one. It was the Suns one in Milwaukee.
Oh, right, yeah.
As Milwaukee was -1400.
Well, there you go. Greasy Moneyline Parlay. Let's get back to the winning side of things with
Yes.
that. But let's focus on Week 17 now, Joe. The regular season coming to a close, as crazy as that sounds. We've got 3 games here for you, 3 meaningful games on the Week 17 board. But let's start one of the biggest. Colts-Titans. Titans 3.5-point home dogs. Total's 43.5, Joe. Win and you're in game here. Mariota says he'll do, quote, everything in his power to play on Sunday, but who knows? T.Y. Hilton continues to nurse that ankle injury, but it doesn't seem to stop him. The guy's putting up monstrous numbers. Colts have won 8 of their last 9 football games and are 5-3-1 against the spread over that stretch. But here's a stat for you, Joe. In 10 career games against the Titans, one Mr. Andrew Luck, 10-0 straight up, 9-1 against the spread.
I consider that to be good.
I'm no mathematician, but that checks out. I think that's pretty good. What do you make of this game?
I don't like betting on either of these teams. They're both way too unpredictable. Like, you look at a team like the Colts and they get shut out by Jacksonville. Then the next week or the week after, whatever it was, they shut out the Cowboys. So what I'm going to do, I'm looking at the total, and I'm looking at under 43.5.
Okay.
Reason is, average combined score in Titans games this season, 37.53. That's the second lowest in the league. The Titans are really good at home, at least defensively. Over their last 4 home games, they're allowing just 14.67 points. The Colts, they're a lot worse on the road offensively. They average 7 fewer points in road games. Big one here, Indy's rush defense has allowed the 8th fewest rushing yards per game. They held Tennessee to just 87 rush yards when they played in November. I think Tennessee's really going to have to rely on the run in this one with the quarterback situation. If Mariota plays, he's injured. If Gabbert plays, he's Gabbert. And I don't think there's that big of a drop-off between Mariota and Gabbert, by the way. Mariota's overrated, but I feel safe with going under 43.5. If I'm choosing a side, I would go with the Colts.
I would go with the Colts, but I think you've talked me into the total there, under 43.5. That's Joe's pick. Let's go to the next one. NFC North battle here. Bears, Vikings. Vikings, 4.5-point faves. Total's 40.5. Vikings get into the playoffs with a win here. Bears playing for the number 2 seed. Bears 8-1 straight up and ATS in their last 9 games and are the best bet in the NFL at 11-4 against the spread. Does that surprise you?
Not really.
They just keep getting it done.
Yeah, they're one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense, and they're able to get it done on offense too. So I think they're going to be able to get it done in this game for at least the first half.
Okay, like
my best bet for this game is Bears plus 2.5 on the first half spread. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, you know this is a bet that I've been playing for about 2 months now. The Bears have the best first half point differential in the league at plus 7.8. The Vikings are at -1. The Bears are also 7-1 against the spread in the first half over their last 8 games. So check this out. The Bears allow 6.2 points in the first half. That's the best in the NFL. The Vikings are allowing 12.4 points in the first half at home. Bad enough for 25th in the league. The Bears outscored the Vikings 14-0 in the first half when they played in November. And Kirk Cousins in a must-win game as a favorite, I'm not interested.
Yeah, we know his record against winning teams with a winning record. It's not very good, but we'll see what happens. Bears playing for the 2 seed. Like I said, Vikes winning. They're in there in the NFC North. Joe Osborne on the Bears first half. What was it, plus 2.5?
Plus 2.5.
Love it. Let's finish it off here in AFC North. Browns, Ravens. Ravens -6. Totals 41. Here, the Ravens own the second best point differential in the AFC at plus 100. Only the Chiefs are better at plus 112. The Browns, though, big story in the second half. Ever since Hugh Jackson got canned, they won 5 of 6 and have covered in 4 of those previous 6 games. Browns beat the Ravens 12-9 as 3-point dogs earlier in the season. Do you see a repeat of that, or do the Ravens get it done?
No, I like the Ravens -6.
Okay.
This one, they're a completely different team with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, and I think it's a true home field advantage too. They have a plus 11 average score margin at home. That's the 4th best in the NFL. They average 6 more points at home. Cleveland allows 5 more points on the road. So since Lamar Jackson took over, Baltimore's only loss is, of course, in overtime at Kansas City. Kansas City's a pretty good team, I would say.
Yep.
So in 4 of the 6 games Lamar Jackson has played, they've rushed for over 200 yards. Cleveland ranks 24th in the league in rushing yards allowed, and they've allowed the 3rd most rushing touchdowns. So I think the Ravens will be able to control the clock, get a lot of offensive production on the ground. And something you can't really measure here, I think the Browns are due for an emotional letdown.
Yep.
Of course, they've been on this incredible run since they canned Hugh Jackson. They won a big game in primetime in Denver. Of course, they really stuck to Hugh Jackson and the Bengals last week.
Yeah.
So I think that, last week, that might have been their version of the Super Bowl. So I think the Ravens come to play, home field advantage, and I like the -6.
There you go. Joe going with the Ravens as home chalk in Week 17. Let me ask you this. I think we can all agree Baker Mayfield, the best of the rookie quarterback crop. Lamar Jackson, second best?
Going by wins, 100%.
Yep.
He's going to get done. He's made a few costly turnovers late in the games.
Yep.
Rookie mistake, maybe.
Sure.
But he's getting results, and he's totally turned around how this team is on offense. They're probably the best rushing team in the league now with him at quarterback.
If you needed to have Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, who would you pick?
I would go with Jackson, just because he's a more dynamic quarterback.
Yeah.
You have to worry about him leaving the pocket. Allen would be the better pure passer, but I would go with the guy who's more of a Swiss Army knife.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in that Browns-Ravens game. And, of course, the Steelers will be cheering for the Browns, which is a crazy, crazy thought.
Yeah.
UFC 232 goes this weekend, headlined by Jones Gustafsson 2 and CYBORG-NUNES. Joe got to chat with our good friend John Anik last week before the relocation from Vegas to L.A., and he got to talk about different elements of the co-mains and the card. Sure. Let's have a look at Joe's chat with John Anik.
Let's get right down to business and discuss John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. So I went back and rewatched the first fight, and I got to say, if it was a different set of judges scoring that fight, Gustafsson very well could have walked away with the decision, and deservedly so. It was a great performance. So with that said, I expected the odds for this fight to be a little bit tighter, but we have Jones here at -285 and Gus at +225. Considering how close that first fight was, isn't Gustafsson being undervalued here?
Absolutely. I thought this was wider than expected. Now, guys like John Jones certainly are going to draw interest from sports bettors. And even if you're throwing him in a parlay with other fighters, I can understand why if people see a 2 next to John Jones, maybe they would salivate. But to your point, when they did fight in September of 2013, it was a very close fight that certainly could have gone Alexander Gustafsson's way. And he's an improved fighter since, right? We haven't seen a ton of John Jones, obviously, because of the transgressions and the suspensions. Alexander Gustafsson is actually the fighter here who has the longer layoff. As great as he looked against Glover Teixeira, and I would argue that was maybe the signature win and performance of Alexander Gustafsson's career, but he's the one who has been idle for a longer amount of time. So maybe that plays into the odds here a little bit. I think Alexander Gustafsson, in terms of the headspace that he is in terms of where he is at physically, is in a position to put forth one of his better performances. And the other thing, too, about Gus is that this is the fight that he wanted more than any other fight. You know, belt on the line or not, this is a matchup that he believes is favorable to him. He believes he is the guy on this roster at heavyweight or light heavyweight that is best equipped to beat John Jones. And largely, I agree with that with respect to Daniel Cormier and the heavyweight division. So I'm excited to see what Alex can do. And I think with John Jones, you know, he's going to have the benefit of a full training camp. He is as committed as he's ever been before. So I think they're both going to shine, but I would agree with you. I thought maybe -180 for Jones would have been more appropriate.
Okay, so let's talk about that commitment for Jones. Despite the fact that he's taken part in some very hard partying, he's competed at the highest level of the sport and is considered by many to be the GOAT. So if he's sincere about leaving that lifestyle behind him and his training is more serious, doesn't it make sense that we'll see an even better version of him at UFC 232?
I think in theory, I think in the past maybe he's succeeded in spite of himself, you know, abusing recreational drugs allegedly a couple weeks before the fight and then being really no worse for wear on fight night, or maybe at times like in the Gustafsson fight said he didn't prepare all that well, so the result was that he had to dig deeper than maybe he otherwise would have. All I'll say about John Jones, and I do consider him to be if he isn't credential-wise the greatest of all time, and I believe him to be that, he's certainly the best mixed martial arts athlete that I have ever seen in that octagon. 18 times in the UFC, he is prepared to beat another man, and 18 times he's beat that man. He's got the DQ loss to Matt Hamill, which should be a win, and the no contest against Daniel Cormier. So as far as I'm concerned, he's 18-0 in the UFC, and that's the longest winning streak in UFC history, despite a lot of those conditions that you outlined not being ideal going into the fight. So I think something that's key for me is the fact that they really wanted Jon Jones to headline in November at Madison Square Garden against Alexander Gustafsson. And he didn't take that fight because he didn't want to be ill-prepared. He didn't want a 5.5 or 6 week training camp. He wanted the full 8 to 10. So that spoke a lot to me, you know, as a guy who follows this sport as closely as anyone. The fact that Jon could have headlined in his native New York State, and he wanted to make sure that he had the full training camp for Alexander Gustafsson, because I think he believes that he needs it to beat Alex. So I think Jon Jones is at this point in time being true to himself and true to his word, and I think he's going to present his best version to date. I really do.
Okay, so moving on to quite possibly the best women's fight in MMA history. We have Cris Cyborg, who hasn't lost since 2005, defending her featherweight title versus Amanda Nunes, who comes into this fight on a 7-fight win streak and will also have the luxury of not needing to cut as much weight. So how does trading a size advantage at a lighter division for a more convenient weight cut in a heavier division tend to work out, and how do you think it will impact Nunes?
It's a good question. So Amanda Nunes really struggles to make the 135-pound bantamweight limit, and she hasn't missed weight as far as I can remember, but it's a struggle for her. So I think the prevailing wisdom is that, Amanda Nunes has had 10 weeks to put on some size. She doesn't have to worry about the weight cut, at least in terms of her conditioning, her strength, her cardio. They should all be better on fight night if she's forced to go 25 minutes here. Some fighters, though, will tell you that they need the discipline of a weight cut and the structure during a training camp to really put their proverbial best foot forward. So we'll see how disciplined Amanda Nunes has been. How is she going to look physically? You know, are we going to see the added muscle mass, or is she just going to be a little bit softer because she doesn't have to cut to 135 pounds? Those are questions that really aren't going to be answered, at least for me, until I sit down with the fighters on Thursday during fight week, until I see their open workouts, when I see them stare down the day before the fight, right? So there are unanswered questions, and that's why I would tell the bettors out there, if you're racing the window, at least to bet on Amanda Nunes, you know, I might wait to see how she looks during fight week. I think a lot of bettors out there wait till weigh-in day anyway to put their action down on a fight. I'm just not always sure that it is unequivocally an advantage. You know, I think sometimes the fact that you don't have to be as disciplined might be a bad thing. But all of that being said, because she's fighting Cris Cyborg, the consensus greatest women's mixed martial artist of all time, I think she has her focus. And I know from speaking to her American top team coaches, they understand they have their work cut out for them, but they believe they have the better, more technical striker. They believe they have more ways to win on the feet, and they think they're going to knock Cris Cyborg out. I guess we'll find out here in short order, Joe.
Great stuff there from our good friend John Anik. But Joe, it's your turn now, and I want to talk about the co-mains here for UFC 232.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Jones, Gustafsson. Jones minus 275. Gustafsson coming back at plus 215. Cap this fight and give me your favorite bet.
Well, considering how close the first fight was, the odds, Jones shouldn't be this big of a favorite. But ultimately, I think Jones is going to win. So I would recommend a 2-unit bet on Jones at minus 275. If it gets any higher than that, I might not even bother. Yeah. Maybe wait until fight day. Maybe that will drop a little bit. So it's Jones or nothing at all for me in this one. Jones is the GOAT. He is the best. He's never truly been defeated. Gustafsson is really good too, but he's lost every big fight that he's been in. He's lost to that close decision to Jones. He lost a close decision to Daniel Cormier, and he got knocked out by Anthony Johnson in Sweden. So the first fight was much closer than it should have been. John wasn't taking him serious at all. He was involved in some heavy drinking, some recreational drug use in the training camp leading up to the fight. That would give him no benefit whatsoever. So, you know, I'll take him at his word that, you know, he's taking his training a lot more serious this time around. And I also go back to what John Anik said in the interview that I did with him about John could have fought him at Madison Square Garden in November, but he wanted to wait. He wanted to be fully prepared to the best of his ability to take on Gus. So I think we're going to see the best ever version of John Jones, and I'm comfortable with 2 units at minus 275.
And the other co-main here features Cyborg versus Nunes. Around the same price range here, though, Joe. Cyborg minus 260. Nunes coming back at 2-1. What's got your eye in this matchup?
I'm going for the underdog.
Are you?
Nunes, yeah. Cyborg hasn't lost since 2005, I think, by the way. So Nunes, she's going off at plus 200. I saw it way up to plus 230 at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. She's on the same level as Cyborg. She was minus 700 in her most recent fight. This will be the best fighter that Cyborg has ever fought. Cyborg has made a career out of beating up much lesser competition. Not really her fault, but that's just the case because the competition hasn't been there for her. When she did fight an elite fighter, Holly Holm, we saw it go to a decision. And Holm, you know, she might have exposed a few holes in Cyborg's game. Cyborg, she's getting a little bit older.
Yeah.
And Nunes, I think that she's just at her absolute peak. She's not going to have to cut as much weight for this one. And this is, in MMA, you don't always have the stats and stuff like that that you do for other sports to back up a pick. So you come up with different narratives. One of the narratives that I have is 99% of these fighters who are considered the best or the GOAT, they lose at some point. Of course, we haven't seen John Jones lose cleanly yet. We saw George St. Pierre, of course, Anderson Silva, all the big names. So I think on Saturday night, Cyborg will lose, and Nunes will become the champ.
2-1 for Nunes. So
I like it.
If that cashes, not a bad little payday. Nothing else on the 232 card that you could have thrown on the Greasy Moneyline Parlay?
No. MMA, you see big upsets in this sport all the time, right? We had Daniel Cormier over Derek Lewis on one of the Greasy Moneyline Parlays, and that paid out, and I was very, very nervous for that one.
Sure.
But yeah, nothing extremely greasy on the card Saturday night.
Let's go to the hardwood. I think we got 5 games on tonight's board. This, of course, airing on Thursday.
Yes.
And we've picked 3 games here, Joe. And I want to start with the Knicks at the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks heavy home fave here, totals 228. Bucks easily the biggest fave on tonight's board. Tim Hardaway Jr. apparently ill and missed shoot-around, so keep an eye on his status for tonight's game. Joe, Knicks ice cold, 1-10 straight up, 2-9 ATS in their last 11. Bucks beat the Knicks by 14 on Christmas Day as 9.5-point chalk. And the Bucks have been a hot under bet lately. Unders have cashed in 9 of 11. What do you like here?
I like under 228.
There we go.
So check this out. As you just said, the teams played on Christmas Day. The total that day was 225, and they combined for just 205 points. Now, a lot of people will look at this and say, trap. I look at it, and I think it's a gift. So over the last 15 games, the Knicks rank dead last in field goal percentage. Over that same span, the Bucks rank a surprising dead last in three-point shooting percentage. The Bucks have been an awesome under bet lately. They've gone under 9 of their last 11. Average combined score of 208.82 in those games. So I think this one's going under again. Under
228. All right. Game 2. Sixers and Jazz. Jazz minus 5.5. Totals 219.5. Sixers off a loss to the Celtics on Christmas Day, but overs have hit in 3 straight Philly games entering this one. Jazz sit 1 game below 500 on the season, but have gone 3-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 4 heading into this one. And of course, they crushed Portland by 21 as 7-point chalk on that Christmas Day docket. What's got your eye here?
I'm all about the Jazz minus 2.5 on the first half spread. I think this is a good home court advantage that they have. So in 6 December home games, Utah has a first half point margin of plus 11.2. In 5 December road games, Philly has a first half point margin of minus 5.2. For the season, Philly averages 6 fewer points in the first half on the road, and the Jazz average 9.5 more first half points at home, leading to a 10-4 first half ATS record.
Are the Jazz underachieving this season, in your opinion?
I think so, but they've played the fewest home games in the NBA so far, so they have a really good stretch of home games coming up, and this is one that I like tonight.
Last game. Let's go Blazers, Warriors. Golden State -9, totals 227. Warriors, like I said, 9-point faves here, but have failed to cover in 4 straight games, and 7 of their last 8, and they're the second worst bet in the NBA.
Yeah.
Second worst. I think, what was it, the Wizards are the only team worse than them? Too many points here? No.
No, I'm on the Warriors -9.
Okay.
So kind of an interesting trend that's developing here, and this has developed over a number of years. Some people are going to say it's stupid, but I do not care. So the trend is the Warriors playing poorly on Christmas Day, then following that up with a very strong performance in the next game. So check this out. Including their most recent Christmas Day game versus the Lakers, the Warriors are on a 1-5 ATS stretch on Christmas Day. However, in the next game, they're 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread, with the wins coming by an average of 19.2 points.
Yeah.
So I think that game was a wake-up call, and they're going to come out flying tonight. A few extra stats to back this one up. Portland has lost 13 straight road games to the Warriors. Average losing margin of 17.15 in those games. Portland ranks 28th in point differential on the road this month. So I think we see a nice bounce back from the Warriors tonight.
Christmas hangover will be over in Golden State.
Truly.
Love it. Great stuff, Joe. There you go. You got 3 Week 17 NFL games. You got 3 NBA games from tonight's NBA board, Thursday. You got the Greasy Moneyline Parlay. You got John Anik breaking down 232. You got Joe with his picks from the co-mains. Everything you need to know to get you prepped for the weekend ahead. Nelson Cruz to the Twins, your thoughts?
He's a decent bat for them. It seems like he was going to end up on a team like the Twins or the Rays or something like that.
Do you think the Twins go out and get a pitcher?
I think there's some. The NL Central is not wide open. There's one pretty good team, the Indians, of course, but the Twins, they clinched a wild card 2 years ago, and they had a down year last year. So the Twins should go out there and make a move because there's not much competition in the division. Last year, I don't know what the exact number is, but the AL Central was historically one of the worst divisions in the history of baseball.
Yeah.
So, and it looks like the Indians are kind of in some weird, not really a rebuild, but they're looking to trade off some of their big names and stuff like that. So it might be a year to kind of go in and try to add an arm to the rotation and maybe make a run at a wild card.
I put a poll out on Twitter earlier today. Cold potato chips, yes or no?
I prefer room temperature. I wouldn't purposely put the chips in the fridge. Why, you put them in the fridge?
Well, the vending machine here at OddsShark headquarters keeps them a little chilly. And so I got a bag an hour or two ago, and I don't keep them in the fridge, but they're not bad.
I have a complaint about the vending machine here. So I bought, if you could tell, I've been coughing a little bit throughout the show. I bought some cough drops out of it, and they're not supposed to be refrigerated either, and they were chewy.
Really?
And that was unacceptable. So I put a complaint into the office manager about getting my toonie refunded, or my $2 refunded, and she says she had bigger fish to fry, apparently. So I won't be getting my $2 back.
Amazing stuff. What would you rather, a chewy cough drop or an expired cough drop?
I think the texture would both be similar, but I would go with expired, perhaps.
Yeah. Might not be the most healthy expired medicine.
Man, I've been in. It would just add to the trend that I've been on throughout the holidays here. I got to get new jogging pants, man. Elastic band on my pants snapped. It was humiliating. I was in a gas station.
Yeah.
When it happened, pants fall all the way down. I'm not wearing any underwear. Next thing I know, they're calling the police.
Yeah.
I'm getting charged with lewd behavior.
Again.
I have a court date tomorrow there. So if there's anyone who can offer free legal advice, hit me up on Twitter, please.
On Twitter, at JTFOZ. Thank you so much for sitting in. It's been great. At Shock_Ninja. No show next Tuesday. It's New Year's Day or something, apparently.
Is it?
I think so.
Chinese New Year or actual New Year?
I think it's actual New Year.
Okay.
So we will be back on Thursday in the new year. Whatever you do with your bets this weekend, best of luck. Hope you've had a great holiday, and I hope you have a great and safe and happy new year. We will leave you with the shark bite of the day.